I am incredibly sorry to ruin your childhood today, but if you suddenly gained the ability to fly right this second, without fundamentally altering your human body, it wouldn't be a dream at all. It would be an absolute nightmare. And in today's Explainer, we're going to break down exactly why.
So the absolutely crucial thing we have to do right off the bat is strip away all that comic book magic. You know, in the movies, heroes fly through the sky like they're swimming through warm butter, just smiling at the camera in their spandex. But for this, we are looking strictly at the brutal, unyielding laws of physics, biology, and atmospheric science. The harsh reality is that human bodies simply are not designed for the sky, and ignoring that fact results in a truly terrifying, violent, biological nightmare.
Let's get right into Section 1. The launch, biology, and aerodynamics.
Okay, let's dive into this. To really understand why we can't just take to the skies, we have to look at the animals that actually do. And when we look at the massive design gap between us and birds, the problem becomes incredibly clear. I mean, literally every single system in a bird's body is engineered from the ground up to exist in the air. They have hollow, honeycomb-like bones, lightweight beaks instead of heavy, tooth-filled jaws, and this hyper-efficient one-way lung system. But humans, we are absolute tanks. We are built strictly for the ground. We have super dense, solid bones just to resist gravity, massive, heavy skulls, and a body completely full of heavy fluid. So, aerodynamically speaking, you are not a sleek aircraft. You are essentially a giant wet sack of potatoes.
And here's the thing. Even if you magically generate the thrust and lift to get off the ground, how on earth do you control yourself? Think about it. Airplanes have rudders and ailerons, right? Birds have tail feathers and flexible wingtips to manage their pitch, roll, and yaw. You just have two arms, two legs, and a head. If even a mild gust of crosswind hits you while you're flying, you possess absolutely no natural aerodynamic stabilization. Nothing. The wind will catch your uneven body, and you will instantly begin to wobble. And up in the air, a wobble very quickly accelerates into a completely uncontrolled flat spin.
Now just think about how lethal that spin becomes. Picture a fidget spinner, right? Spinning faster and faster. Centripetal acceleration forcefully pushes everything outward to the edges. So if your center of rotation happens to be your chest, your blood is going to violently rush out to your head and your feet. If it all pools in your feet, you just black out from lack of oxygen and fall out of the sky unconscious. But if it rushes up to your head, you experience what's called a redout. The immense fluid pressure forces all that blood into the tiny, super delicate vessels in your eyes and brain. Your vision literally turns blood red right before the capillaries in your eyeballs just pop under the pressure. And that's almost immediately followed by a lethal stroke or a massive brain hemorrhage.
Moving on to Section 2, Cruising Altitude Atmospherics.
So let's say it's a super hot, 90-degree summer day on the ground, and you decide, hey, I'm going to fly way up high to cool off and get a nice view. Well, going high up to cool off is a fatal mistake. Because of something called the environmental lapse rate, the atmosphere gets significantly colder the higher you climb. By the time you reach 30,000 feet, which, by the way, is the standard cruising altitude of commercial jets, you are looking at temperatures plummeting to minus 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And remember, that is just the static air temperature. That's completely ignoring the windshield of you physically flying through it.
And that danger escalates incredibly fast when you factor in your flight speed. Let's say you're flying at just 100 miles per hour through that sub-zero air. The convective heat transfer literally strips the warmth out of your body at an absurd, terrifying rate. First, any moisture on your lips and skin freezes instantly, giving you severe frostbite. Second, the liquid saline film that naturally covers your eyeballs, that turns into ice crystals, entirely destroying your corneas and blinding you on the spot. Finally, complete hypothermia sets in and just shuts down your nervous system. Your brain can't even send signals to your frozen muscles anymore, leaving you as a completely frozen block plummeting back toward the earth.
Now I know what you're thinking. What if I just wear a really heavy, heated winter coat and some ski goggles? Well, okay, but then you run straight into the lack of oxygen. Once you pass about 18,000 feet, you start suffering from hypoxia. It's this insidious trap where you actually feel kind of drunk, you might start giggling, and then you just pass out entirely without even realizing you're actively suffocating. But let's say you somehow magically push past that. If you keep going, you will reach a horrifying boundary up at 63,000 feet, known as the Armstrong Limit.
Up at 63,000 feet, the atmospheric pressure drops to a mere 0.9 psi.
Now, because the boiling point of a liquid actually drops as atmospheric pressure lowers, at this specific altitude, the boiling point of water drops below your normal internal body temperature of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Think about what that means. The moisture in your mouth, in your lungs, and all throughout your soft tissues spontaneously boils into vapor. You would literally swell up to double your size, puffing out like a giant bloated balloon. Definitely not quite that majestic wind in your hair superhero image we all had in mind, is it?
All right, Section 3, Low Level, High Speed, Kinetics and Friction. Let's abandon the high altitudes. Let's bring you back down to a supposedly safe 500 feet off the ground and just let you cruise at a really thrilling 100 miles per hour. Sounds fun, but the massive problem here is that the lower atmosphere is basically a dense soup full of millions of insects. When you drive your car, the windshield takes the hits for you. But when you're flying, your face is the windshield. Hitting a tiny 2-gram June bug at 100 miles per hour delivers the exact kinetic force of taking a high-speed paintball to the bare skin. Taking a hit like that directly to an open eyeball will instantly rupture your cornea. And if you dare to open your mouth to shout with joy, you are absolutely just going to swallow a mouthful of flies, or worse, choke on a wasp at highway speeds.
And sadly, bugs are just the starting point. Let's talk about birds. Commercial airliners spend billions of dollars bird-proofing their jets because hitting a bird mid-air is completely devastating. If you personally collide with a standard 4-pound Canada goose while you're flying at 150 miles per hour, that impact delivers roughly 4,500 foot-pounds of energy directly into your body. To put that into perspective, that is the exact physical equivalent of taking a 10-pound sledgehammer directly to the chest. It will completely shatter your collarbone, instantly puncture your lungs, and knock you out cold mid-flight. There is just no walking away from that.
So the really crucial takeaway here is that speed itself is a literal weapon against your body. If you try to go even faster, like say you want to be a comic book speedster and break the sound barrier, things get incredibly gruesome. Just hitting 400 miles per hour, the sheer wind resistance will physically rip the corners of your lips and your cheeks apart. As you push closer to Mach 1, aerodynamic drag and compressed air generate such intense friction that it heats your skin to over 250 degrees Fahrenheit. It will literally cook your flesh. And hey, you know that massive sonic boom that sounds so incredibly cool in the movies? Well, since you're the one breaking the barrier, that boom originates mere inches from your head at over 200 decibels. It will instantly rupture your eardrums and permanently deafen you. No way around it.
Which brings us to Section 4, Landing Logistics, Thermodynamics, and Impact.
We really have to address the basic, undeniable physics of thermodynamics here. An airplane has to burn hundreds of gallons of highly combustible jet fuel just to produce the kinetic energy needed to push its heavy body through the air against wind resistance. So if your superpower relies on your own biological muscle metabolism and human energy stores to do all that mechanical work, the underlying math becomes genuinely horrifying.
The sheer, unbelievable scale of energy required for human flight is staggering. To forcefully push an average human body through the air at 100 miles per hour requires about 30 to 40 horsepower of continuous, non-stop work. Doing the biological metabolic conversion for that, flying for just one single hour would burn roughly 70,000 calories. That is the literal equivalent of eating 13 Big Macs right before takeoff. If you don't somehow consume that, your body will rapidly panic and cannibalize its own fat and muscle just to keep the engine running, leading to severe starvation and a mid-air crash within minutes. Furthermore, biologically generating that much metabolic work creates a massive byproduct of heat. It would spike your internal organ temperature to an absolutely fatal 110 degrees Fahrenheit. You would basically be cooking yourself on the inside out just to stay aloft.
But okay, let's play along. Let's say you miraculously survive all of that and you finally make it to your destination. Now you actually have to land. Airplanes use 2-mile-long concrete runways and massive disc brakes to gradually, safely dissipate all their kinetic energy. But superheroes, they love to do that dramatic swoop in, plant their feet, and punch the dirt in a dead stop. If you actually try to execute an instant superhero landing coming in at even 60 miles per hour, your deceleration force instantly spikes to between 50 and 100 Gs. An impact like that will instantaneously shatter your femurs and your ankles into literal splinters. And worse, your internal organs will violently slam forward against the inside of your ribcage, causing fatal internal organ shear and massive instant bleeding.
And you know what? Even if your body somehow miraculously survives all the brutal physics we just talked about, you still have to deal with modern society.
You are actively flying through restricted airspace that is monitored 24/7 by military and civilian radar networks. So NORAD is going to spot an unidentified, fast-moving biological target without a registered radio transponder. Within minutes, supersonic F-22 fighter jets are going to scramble to intercept you. When those jets buzz past you to see what you are, their immense wake turbulence is going to throw your totally unaerodynamic body into a violent, unrecoverable tailspin. And if you stubbornly refuse to land immediately, automated surface-to-air missile defense systems will lock straight onto that massive thermal signature we talked about earlier, and they'll literally shoot you out of the sky.
Finally, Section 5, the reality check.
So, to actually survive all the horrors of this explainer, you certainly wouldn't be flying around in a cool t-shirt or a flashy spandex suit. You would legally and biologically have to wear this heavily engineered, extremely bulky survival suit. Think about it. You need a full outer pressure suit just so your blood doesn't boil. You need an oxygen mask and a heated rebreather so you don't suffocate. You'd need heavy lithium-powered heating coils sewn in to stop hypothermia. A heated polycarbonate helmet with tiny little wiper blades to clear all those smashed bug guts off your visor. Carbon fiber tail fins physically strapped to your body so you don't flat spin into a redout. A military-grade radar transponder, and thick Kevlar chest armor to survive those sledgehammer bird strikes. Honestly, by the time you strap every single piece of this on, you aren't a majestic superhero anymore. You are quite literally just a human flying a very tiny, extremely bulky, and highly uncomfortable personal airplane.
The main takeaway from all of this is pretty clear. It is so incredibly easy to look up at the sky and envy birds, or those comic book characters, feeling like gravity is just this annoying force holding us down. But when you really break down the hard science, you quickly realize that the Earth's surface is not a cage at all. It is a brilliant, protective haven. Down here on the ground, we have a thick, breathable atmosphere, we have warmth, and most importantly, we have a solid floor that prevents us from freezing solid, spinning out of control at Mach 1, or taking a random pigeon to the face at highway speeds.
So, the very next time you find yourself sitting on a commercial flight, sipping a nice cold drink, and looking out that thick, double-paned window, I hope you'll be incredibly grateful for that massive aluminum fuselage protecting you from the brutal, unyielding nightmare happening right outside.
Please like and subscribe.